A few people have asked what I do for my plants as far as pest control, and this is what I do. This is a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. You don't need that big, probably not if you don't have a garden of this size that I have. However, the important part is what's in the backpack. And I know it looks kind of gross, but it is a solution that has been developing over the years. Over the last few years, I've been adding some different ingredients to it for different purposes. And all of this was born after I started gardening. And first year, I tried a very popular pesticide called 7 Dust. It kills bugs. It does kill bugs very well. I had to look a little bit more into it to see how it did it because I was a little bit curious. It is considered a neurotoxin. And then when I was reading the little can of it, I was like, oh my goodness. Yes, it is safe, supposedly, according to the manufacturer, but you have to really know your plants, know how old they are, know the planting cycle, know the growth cycle, in order for it to be safe to be on your food by the time you consume it. Now, we all know there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution for our food issues, for what we put in them. But my next step was to try and find something that was a little bit safer, a lot more natural, and see how it worked. See if it was a complete fail boat or if I could get something that worked well enough. The other thing I was facing is something called blight, which you can see like here. This is new growth, but it's late in the season. So this is actually a fungal infection that tomatoes are especially susceptible to. You can buy breeds that are more resistant, and I have a few breeds on some other plants in a different part of the garden that are more resistant. But it's a fungus. It happens especially after you have a lot of rain, and there's different things you can do to inoculate for that. Whoa! I just lost a strap. But so for the fungus, you can inoculate the young plants with a heavy metal, say copper or zinc, which is definitely a popular option. However, I was hesitant on that one because especially when I started gardening, I have children, and at that point I had young children, and I was not a fan of the heavy metal introduction. Heavy metals get stored in our system for years and they build up, which is one of the reasons why it can be risky for young children or lactating pregnant women to consume large fish. I know you've probably read those warnings, that type of thing. Well, it's the same thing if it's sprayed onto your plants. So I was like, okay, I need another alternative for that. So natural solutions, some more research. I found something called neem oil, NEEM. It's an oil that comes from a tree that is dominantly grown on the Indian subcontinent, but it is now marketed around the world. And guess what? It's effective. Yay! It kills bugs, which is a bonus. It works as like an insect repellent if you put it on your clothing too. But also it fights the fungal infections known as blight. So neem oil was one of the first ingredients that went into my solution. Sorry, I'm getting this strap threaded back through. Now next is a very simple ingredient that I hope all of us have if we have a kitchen, and that is dish soap. I have the blue kind, Dawn, on hand in the kitchen, and that's what I've used. I've used other brands and it worked fine. Use whatever you have. But the dish soap, the fatty acids in it also they basically dissolve the hard coating on the outside of insects' exoskeletons, and it kills them that way. It's not a neurotoxin, it's simply, well, unpleasant, but it dissolves their outer shells and then they eventually die. It also apparently, between the neem oil, which is a fat, being an oil, and then your dish soap, which is based on fatty acids as a detergent or a soap, they also do some forms of endocrine disruption, which messes with the insect's reproductive cycle, which means the eggs don't really catch on, they don't take, and you don't get the next round of the little pests flying around. This is very good. because that means there's not the little critters to come and eat the rest of your plants. Now, caveat on that one, I had to learn to be careful about when I sprayed it, because there's a lot of really good insects that you don't want to get this on, because neem oil and dish soap, they don't know what they're spraying, and they can kill bumblebees as well as they can kill the Japanese beetles or the little whatever's eating your tomato plants, because there's a wide variety of little critters that can, or your turnips or whatever it is you're growing. I sprayed on all of them. So those are the two largest ingredients. Now, more recently, I've added a couple of more things. One of them is liquid kelp. That is not a pesticide nor a fungicide, but it does help the plants boost their chlorophyll production, basically making the green more green and helping the plants to be a bit more robust, which is great, especially when you're trying to get them to take off early in the season or extend their life late in the season. That, I was a little bit iffy on adding it in, but I'm glad I have, and it will continue to be in the spray. It's mostly what's giving it the deep brown color, and it doesn't smell super pretty either. So I've added that in to get the healthier plants. The final ingredient in this concoction makes it taste bad, and that is it's basic hot pepper sauce, the cheapest kind you can find in the grocery store. And for 4 gallons of mixture, it's only about 2 teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon of hot sauce for the whole thing. This has definitely helped with my deer situation. I enjoy looking at deer. I don't enjoy them eating my entire first round of my tomato crop this year. I'm talking, it's got to be between 80 and 100 tomatoes in a night. So if you look over here, we've got a lot of woods. We've got a bunch of deer that live in our woods. And I like them here. I don't want to completely chase them away. I just don't want them eating my tomatoes, my sweet potatoes, or my turnips. So this pepper spray in the backpack solution has been a lovely addition. And the beauty of this is when it oversprays or the wind catches it and it sprays back in my face, it tastes bad, but it doesn't hurt me. The most potentially harmful item in it is the dish soap. And you have to eat a lot of dish soap before your stomach gets upset. It's considered non-toxic. It's a non-toxic cleaner. And so I figured it's safe to go on the garden. Now this concoction has been super helpful on all of my plants. My tomatoes need it for blight. Squash plants get a fungus. It looks different than tomato blight, but it's actually very similar. It can cause some of the yellow discoloration. It causes fuzziness, and eventually it makes it so the squash leaves cannot produce chlorophyll. All right, now also you'll see behind me, this is my future herb garden. Right now it's a combination of mulch, which is aging. It's too new for me to put on the garden, it'll burn it. Also, I've got cardboard boxes because we eat cereal and I order online shopping stuff and it comes in boxes. And this way it adds back into the garden. And then underneath it, you can see some tree branches from some trees, the tops of trees that were harvested from our woods. They needed to come down. Well, we drug the branches over here to form a base. I'm letting this age and decompose, and hopefully next season I will be able to put a large herb garden on top of it. It'll be very attractive. It'll be super rich soil, and it'll be elevated, and it'll look nice from the house. All right, so squash plants. This happens to be spaghetti squash. It's really late in the season, so it's seen a lot of rain. You can see how the moisture is getting to the leaves. That type of thing happening to the leaves is a result of blight, and which is the fungal infection, which is exacerbated by the cooler weather and the heavy rains. So this is me combating it, and it helps. It extends the growing season and lets these guys be more robust and prevents them from being eaten up before they can grow, whether it is by bugs or by deer, groundhogs, other things that want to eat my food, that type of thing. So they're elevated to help them get more light and better airflow. And then I try and protect them with a spray that, number one, protects them from being bitten and consumed by bugs. It prevents them from being consumed by fungus. See, this one is succumbing to it, but it's okay. The plant will still produce. Once this plant finishes drying out in the sun, either later today or tomorrow, I'll pull that leaf off, and it slows the spread of the blight. And then, let's see, so we've protected against the bugs, we've protected against the fungus, and then finally the pepper spray for the deer. And all of that gets loaded into here. It's not very much. To do 4 gallons, it is about 4 ounces of neem oil, 2 ounces of dish soap, 2 ounces of the kelp spray, and then 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon of hot pepper spray. So less than 8 ounces of solution total, well, maybe a little bit more because you have the pepper sauce on top, for 4 gallons of solution. And that does all of this area plus most of my other garden. Because it's a liquid and because it's a soap, just like your dishes, when you rinse them, the dish soap comes off. When it rains, you have to reapply. So yes, I'm out here every couple of weeks during the summer, maybe more when we're having a rainy period, but I found it is so worth it. And the fruits and vegetables taste great, and I feel good about it. I feel like it's less risky to my family's health, and to me that's super important. So that's the deal with the backpack sprayer and the ugly brown gunk. If you can smell it, you can definitely smell it between the pepper sauce and the neem oil, but my plants love it.